Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of me rating your creative maps that have been submitted to me through various sources. Before I begin, I would like to explain how and why I have actually been taking a break from rating episodes. It is not because that I have ran out of maps to rate, nor was I quite bored of it. It's just because more recently, I did actually start an attempt on how to stream and me more focused on streaming has caused this project, as I will call it, to be sidelined a little. But now it is finally returning, and with that, let us move to the first round for this particular episode. So, our first map is this particular map that is shown. Even though the title of the map is in a foreign language, based on some translations, it appears that the title of this map is called Frog on the March. So instantly when we look into the map, we can instantly see that the frogs are actually well designed. However, I am not too certain as to why the arrow is being used as the mouth of the frog. But regardless, these are all just for the aesthetic showcases. So for gameplay wise, you are actually navigating through the river. There is various frogs in them and all the different lily pads that you will commonly find in the river. For gameplay wise, up until where I am right now, I don't see too much difficulties for players to struggle upon. However, by observing some things, I do notice that sometimes the players will have to make use of longer jumps in order to reach to the next section, which I feel that might have be a little bit more complicated for players. So for lily pad bouncers or drum bouncers, I feel that they are definitely manageable for your normal type of players. I don't see much issues with this map that newer players can really struggle with. However, maybe perhaps for some distance coverage as well as timing purposes might get them a little bit more tricky to work with. Then as well we see some other frogs that are quite present. And speaking of timing, I definitely did not know how to time my jump there. And that is something that newer players will definitely struggle with. Not saying that I'm a newer player by any sorts that is starting to rate others' maps. But sometimes things are more deceptive to creators than they would first appear, and kind of as a result may unintentionally cause their maps to earn a dislike, which is not the entire point of how I look at maps at all. So now approaching the last parts of the map itself. Sorry for the rather awkward pause right there. I was dealing with some very unfortunate FPS issues that I have to fix rather importantly. Well, even though I was unable to qualify from this map, I do actually am able to see what I needed in order to give a proper rating and my thoughts for the map as well. So for this map, obviously this is obviously a map focused more on frogs and how their probably how their lifestyle would work, and I would say that the aesthetics is up there. However, that for the gameplay wise, by combining certain elements in one, it perhaps may feel that to players it's a little bit more complicated than one would initially imagine. So for the rating of this map, I'll be giving it a 9 out of 10. Even though I did just mention that the gameplay is a little bit more complicated, but eventually players that come into the game, whether as absolute rookies or you are experienced at all and just lost some elements of gameplay because you took a extended break from the game, you will have to eventually adapt to how this type of maps work. And to me, I can already see that this map is already very, very simple. So with that, let us actually move on to the second map for this episode. So our second map for today is titled as Game Dog's Neon Party. So for those of you who aren't quickly aware, when maps are created as a neon background, they usually refer that they actually have a black colored background. Then the lights that are in the stage itself would explain for itself as to how the different aesthetics and other things work. And so firstly, we notice that we have all the probably pipes, glow sticks, whatever, all the things that you expect from a neon neon party. And of course there isn't much to really say about this map because for one thing, I think most players can instantly tell that even through my gameplay, the map itself is relatively linear, and this area that I'm currently on obviously is attempting to represent strobe lights. However, due to how different people might have issues with, I would try and attempt not to show the strobe light effect too much due to various conditions that might not be known to all different players when maps are created. Of course, maps are there to allow players to have a fun time, and at certain times there are maps that can be a little bit more unfortunate when it comes to such elements. And the main issue that I only have on this final part leading to the finish line is that when I'm standing on this particular area, the first thing that I would see is the blizzard fan that is blowing us upwards, as well as the bean in the background, followed by the fan at the background that is representative of pyrotechnics. Only then when I come closer do I notice this check mark on the floor that when I look through it will I see the finish line, and to that, I have some couple of thoughts as well. So as I was basically just referring to it is that the thoughts being shown on this map as well is that this map is relatively linear, so I doubt players will have a hard time understanding where to go at any point as they are playing through the map. However, there are certain things that really inhibit this map is really the strobe light effects that can cause pain to certain players who perhaps might have conditions like epilepsy and other various conditions that can cause them to shy away from looking at the screen. Of course, every single game there is always this warning about taking caution when you have a health condition, and I do understand it. That most definitely. And pretty much so at the ending, if you decide to take the Blizzard fan to chill out in this map a little, the strobe light effect that when you go to a party or more specifically a concert is really much more vibrant and visible in the game itself, and it does really hurt players' eyes. And for me, as I played through this map, it even hurts my own eyes. But fortunately, because I do have a little bit of filter that can actually protect my own eyes with, it is not too painful for me personally. But remember, I am looking at maps for the general player base rather than just for myself. So with that, the rating that I will give this map is a 9.6 out of 10 because of few factors. How linear this map really is, the carefully designed strobe lights, even if they cause discomfort for certain players. All these factors combined makes me believe that this map can eventually make it to specific game modes, but perhaps not for a game mode like Knockout where you have different players coming in all together, and sometimes you have players who play through the night, and this being a neon type of map itself would mean that they might not be able to see where they are, even though yes, the game lighting should give you some a bit of advantage to know where you are supposed to be going. Nor do I actually expect the creator of this map to put up more guides for players to know, because it is just really one simple linear movement. So if you have no idea where to go, it just means that you probably are not aware of some of the game controls, and that is not even close to anything to do with adaptation, but rather just simply you not understanding how to play the game in general. And for those players, I really recommend you to actually move ahead and read up on game controls before you really start any single game, as they are always beneficial for you. With that, we shall move on to the third round for today, and that would be so our third bet for today is titled as Escape of Mountain. Rather quickly itself, I would not usually see that a mountain would consider having a frog. Obviously, there is enough warning signs to let players know that they should not be at certain areas. Although I don't think a frog will be able to spin their tongue in a 360-degree angle without actually turning their bodies as well. But that's just a smaller nitpick that I really have. So this section itself really indicates like how a mountain is like, where you have different obstacles that are standing in your way in order to prevent you from escaping the mountain, where that being mountaintops, different wild animals. Of course, there isn't much wild animals in this map, but there are other factors that always inhibits players or humans from progressing what they want to achieve as they do hiking, sightseeing, or whatever other things. So this map itself, I do not have much to say about it because really it is a quick and little fun map. Maybe players might struggle at the very beginning, considering how sometimes players might not be playing at their most optimal server because there are always Fall Guys players who stream the game and often do snipes, which I myself am included in that particular list. But more so is that when you play in such maps with a higher ping than what you are used to, sometimes the server detects you at a particular spot that you are never at, despite you looking at your screen and knowing that you did not fall into the respawn zone, elimination zone, depending on what game mode it is. But regardless, this was essentially a fun little map, time to clear. Even though I did not mention it for the previous two maps, it is always shown in this screen every single time. 2 to 3 minutes should be all players need to really navigate through this map, as again, this is another map that is linear, and the rating itself for this map, I'll be giving it a 9.15 out of 10. For me, I feel that the gameplay, the adaptability is already there, but of course, like as I just mentioned about some ping issues for players, this is why I feel that the adaptability will have to be dropped a little bit more, and things like aesthetics is something that is very fun to work with. So I have not much else to say about this map, and we shall move on to the fourth map. And this next map would have been the first that I will have done something new for the maps, and eventually as more episodes come, there will be new things that come along as I start doing maps that I feel that I am able to do things like these. Which map will it be? Let us find out right now. So our fourth map for today is titled Tranquil Garden, and in the description, it has already mentioned that we are out here in the garden to pick some flowers and perhaps take some pictures. So obviously the first thing that I can directly already see is the different flowers that have been designed accordingly, the petals on the floor, everything that you would sort of expect to see in a garden. At the top of my head, I can directly assure you that it is near impossible for me to name out all the different flowers that has been designed here at all, because I am not so much of a nature person myself, but do I appreciate all these designs and everything? Most definitely I do. And even over here, we can clearly see that this is representative of a picnic, and where you have tea, eat some cake, and all other different things that you might do while you are at the garden, or at least at the park where a garden is within view. Then you even have a bench here, which is more commonly seen in parks, but of course flowers are also visible in places like these. And then let's go for the qualification, and I will give my thoughts on this map very shortly. So first thing I have to say, and as you would have noticed, is that up until this particular episode, I have never and not once included pictures when I decided to rate maps, because most of the time there isn't like occasions where I can take a picture of the map that can be done while playing through the game. Yes, uh, for creators, when they create the thumbnail of the maps itself, you would have noticed that they are able to create maps based on different elements, like using through the height of the camera, moving around with it, or spawning your bean in a slightly different location just to be able to get the best thumbnail picture. However, this map is one that allows you to really take pictures wherever you are at. Like per se, when you are playing through the map, you can find places where you can start taking pictures. Estimated time to clear for this map, from what I feel, it's around 2 minutes. So this is not counting the fact that if players want to have a fun time in this map and take some pictures, but really linear map, low limited places for players to fall, that when I'm playing through the map that I can really see. So as a result of all these factors combined, this map gets a perfect 10, which I believe I've only done so for one other map so far because of how relatively short it is. This map is slightly longer, yes, that much I am very much aware, but I do not give maps a perfect rating based on their length at all. It is more towards how I've always done map ratings, where I look at how players are able to progress through the map, how newer players can definitely progress through the map, and the amount of aesthetics, the amount of detail that is given to the level. With that all said and done, it is time to move on to the fifth and final map for this episode. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, this map once again has another foreign title in the name itself, but after translating, it appears that this title is called The History of Creativity Seen at Jambani. And when I was playing through this map, I could have actually went a little backwards and get some pictures as well, but when I look directly at the ending, it kind of steers me away from doing such a feat itself, as I feel that it is not going to do much justice for the map. And this is also the first episode, for anyone wondering, that I have done ever since they done the small space adjustments for cameras, and this is why you got a very close up of my bean. But that aside, it is not anything related to how maps are rated, not to worry. So directly we can see that there are different things that can be seen in the map itself. Different beans that are in the landscape, I am not too certain what this particular piece of aesthetic is meant to be. But there are a few things that I want to point out in this map. Is that notice there's this punching glove at the very back of the two beans. For normal players, they would have zero idea that those punching gloves existed. And furthermore, due to how there are not much visible guides as to where players should move, while looking through my thoughts for this map, I actually got lost for this map until I noticed the conveyor belt that is on the floor itself, and that actually eventually allowed me to figure out where I need to move. But all that aside, this is a relatively short map to work with, and I will get to my thoughts in just a moment. So obviously this is more of an aesthetic map than most players would probably admit. And this is definitely a short map, but of course with the flaws that are pointed out from maps, there are times that it is rather misleading. And I would say that perhaps a little bit more visible hints as to where certain things might be would help players to navigate through the maps a little better. But regardless, that is all I really have to say of this map. While as I also gave my thoughts when I played through the map itself. So for this map itself, I will be giving it a rating of 8.3 out of 10 because really it is something that I feel is more justified when it comes to the rating of this map, when it comes to combining the amount of aesthetics in the map, how players and newer players at that as well can navigate through the map. And that is all I really have to say. Thank you for watching this really this episode despite the break that I've taken from rating maps, and hopefully more episodes will keep coming as really my time is no longer much more guaranteed and there is still a lot more maps that I can rate, not to worry. But please, regardless of where you are from, please always stay safe. As I've really started streaming, I've placed out this message over and over again is that we are in the year of 2024. Information can be obtained from literally anywhere, and if the information gets into the wrong hands, there can be lots of issues that you may not be aware of. And I personally do not wish anyone in this community or other communities that just decides to pop in to this video to understand how I look at maps to really suffer as a result of being doxxed or anything that can befoul their lives in a very negative way. Hopefully I'll see you soon for the 10th episode of this rating series. Peace out.